Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar takes part in a Quad meeting in Washington, D.C. The U.S. applauds India's strategic role in the Indo-Pacific. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to leave on a 5-nation tour of the Global South on Wednesday. It'll be the longest foreign visit by him in over a decade. Prime Minister Modi marks 10 years of Digital India as a decade of inclusion, access and opportunity for all. Goods and services tax completes 8 years. And Thailand's top court suspends Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra over a leaked phone conversation with Cambodia's former leader Hun Sen. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to embark on a crucial 8-day 5-nation visit from 2nd July, which will be the longest foreign visit by him in over a decade. The extensive diplomatic outreach will see him travel to Ghana, Trinidad and Tobago, Argentina, Brazil and Namibia, all members of the Global South. Therefore, the visits will have a strong focus on strengthening India's partnerships in the Global South.
The tour begins in the West African nation of Ghana, a visit that holds immense historical and strategic significance as it will be the first by an Indian Prime Minister in 3 decades. In Ghana, discussions are expected to revolve around enhancing economic, energy and defense collaborations. India is already Ghana's largest buyer of goods, with gold making up over 70% of imports from the country. The visit aims to explore further avenues for trade and investment, including critical minerals, digital infrastructure, and the establishment of a vaccine hub in Ghana to serve the wider West African region. Prime Minister Modi is also slated to address the Ghanaian parliament, a gesture underscoring the strong democratic values shared by both the nations. Following Ghana, PM Modi will visit Trinidad and Tobago, where he will be the first Indian Prime Minister to undertake a bilateral visit since 1999. The visit to this Caribbean nation, which has a significant Indian diaspora, aims to strengthen bilateral partnerships across key areas and reaffirm enduring ties with the Caribbean. The third leg of the tour takes the Prime Minister to Argentina, marking the first bilateral visit by an Indian PM in 57 years. The focus here will be on expanding strategic partnerships in diverse sectors such as defense, agriculture, mining, oil and gas, and renewable energy. From Argentina, PM Modi will proceed to Brazil to attend the much anticipated 17th BRICS Summit. This will be his 4th visit to Brazil as Prime Minister. At the BRICS Summit, PM Modi is expected to engage in crucial discussions on global issues including the reform of international institutions, peace and security, responsible use of artificial intelligence, climate action, and strengthening multilateral cooperation. Bilateral meetings with various world leaders on the sidelines of the summit are also anticipated. Brazil is currently India's largest trading partner in South America, making this a vital stop for economic collaboration. The final destination on this extensive tour will be Namibia, where PM Modi's visit comes after a 27-year gap. The visit underscores India's commitment to strengthening ties with Southern Africa, with talks expected to cover trade, defense, energy, space, technology, farming, and healthcare. PM Modi will also address the Parliament of Namibia. Overall, this 5-nation tour is seen as a strategic move by India to bolster its presence and influence on the global stage, particularly within the Global South. Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, Prime Minister Modi's visit to Ghana will be the first such visit by an Indian Prime Minister to the West African country in 3 decades. Tapas Bhattacharya reports from Accra.
India and Ghana share warm, time-tested ties built on common democratic values and a shared vision for development. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Ghana from July 2nd to 3rd is not just symbolic, it's a strategic move to reinforce South-South cooperation. This is the first high-level visit by an Indian Prime Minister in 30 years, signaling a renewed focus on Africa.
There will be delegation-level talks during which the bilateral relations will be reviewed and also discuss various ways to strengthen and deepen bilateral relations. Honorable Prime Minister will have a one-on-one meeting with his counterpart. Then there will be a banquet dinner in honor of Honorable Prime Minister. The next day, Prime Minister will be addressing the Parliament, and he also will be interacting with the Indian community there, which is about 15,000 in number.
Trade and investment and development cooperation are the key pillars of India-Ghana relations. Leaders from both nations are expected to explore new areas for collaboration with a strong focus on economic growth and inclusive partnership. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also address Ghana's parliament in this trip.
During the visit, there will be few focus items. Will be agriculture, where the Ghanaian leader, the president, is keen to engage with India. He is also keen on the vaccine development, creating a vaccine hub in Ghana, for not just Ghana but also the West Africa context. Defense cooperation will become an important item on the agenda, and the critical minerals and the digital public infrastructure.
Prime Minister Modi's visit aims to elevate bilateral cooperation across strategic sectors and reaffirm India's commitment to the global south. The visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi aims to deepen ties across key sectors including economy, energy, defense and development cooperation, marking a significant diplomatic push in Ghana and a common vision for both India and Ghana for the global south. With camera person Rakesh, this is Tapas Bhattacharya for DD India from Accra, Ghana.
The Indian diaspora in Ghana is thrilled to welcome Prime Minister Modi. It marks Prime Minister Modi's first bilateral visit to that country. It's also the first by an Indian Prime Minister to that country in 30 years. Excitement is high as the community gears up for a warm and grand reception. Tapas Bhattacharya has more.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will undertake a 5-nation tour, and the first stop is in Ghana. I have with me some of the Indian diaspora people who have come here to cheer Prime Minister Modi and to get a glimpse of the man who they've been waiting for long.
We are very much agog and very much looking forward for his visit. So I just say that we are proud of him, we are proud of India, and we are proud to have Modi ji as our Prime Minister.
It is really a very proud moment for us that our PM Modi is coming over here. The way he says Man Ki Baat is also my Man Ki Baat, he is coming here, and we are really waiting here to welcome him. He is the most respected leader in the world right now. And I would say if India can be able to see eye to eye to the even Western nations.
Becoming a Vishwa Guru, isn't it, ma'am?
It's very truly said. So Ghana is eagerly waiting. As Modi ji is coming to Ghana, he's coming to our homes, he's coming to our stories, he's coming everywhere. Each and every citizen of Ghana is eagerly waiting for Modi ji.
We are feeling so proud that our Prime Minister is coming. So I want to add on that really, that once we come to know like Prime Minister will be here, so that all the Indians who is staying over there, they are keep talking that when he is coming, that what we are going to do, we are going to see him closely, we are going to listen him very closely. So that is what we are feeling.
He is not just a leader, he's a visionary. He has transformed and changed the India Global Index with a lot of commitment, lot of courage, and he did it. And if I talk about his dedication, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, he did it. Yes. And really I'm very happy, and we are honored to welcome our such a dynamic and powerful leader.
The Indian diaspora is eagerly waiting for Prime Minister Narendra Modi to make his first stop in the five-nation trip that he is undertaking. Ghana will be the first stop, and it's expected to be a game changer for both the countries, especially when it comes to Indian diaspora who are really eagerly waiting to get a glimpse of the man who they've been absolutely eulogizing, have been talking about for long. With camera person Mormukur, this is Taposh Bhattacharya for GT India from Accra, Ghana.
Right, now the news. Digital India, the flagship initiative launched by the Indian government, completes 10 years on Tuesday. Prime Minister Modi shared a detailed reflection on the occasion. In a social media post, the Prime Minister shared his blog titled "A Decade of Digital India." He said that while previous decades were marked by skepticism about the Indians' ability to use technology, his government has changed that approach by trusting the citizens' capabilities. The Prime Minister said that when the intent is right, innovation empowers the less empowered. The blog further said that this belief laid the foundation for Digital India, a mission to democratize access, build an inclusive digital infrastructure and provide opportunities for all. Highlighting the progress made since 2014, the Prime Minister noted that in 2014, India had around 25 crore internet connections. Today, that number has grown to over 97 crores. The Prime Minister credited the India Stack, India's digital backbone, for powering platforms such as Unified Payments Interface, which handles more than 100 billion transactions every year. India's digital economy is empowering MSMEs and small entrepreneurs like never before. India introduced the powerful trinity of JAM, Jan Dhan, Aadhaar and Mobile to enhance transparency in government programs, ensure the rights of the poor and the underprivileged, and effectively implement the direct benefit transfer. The Digital India program has played a crucial role in ensuring that it is a success.
One of the biggest initiatives in financial inclusion, the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, was launched on 28 August 2014. It became a remarkable example of people's participation, with nearly 550 million bank accounts opened. This visionary initiative by Prime Minister Narendra Modi brought a transformational change. These Jan Dhan accounts were linked with Aadhaar and mobile numbers.
भारत ने डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी को डेमोक्रेटाइज किया। भारत ने डिजिटल प्लेटफॉर्म बनाए और इस प्लेटफॉर्म पर हुए इनोवेशन ने लाखों नए अवसर पैदा किए। जनधन, आधार और मोबाइल की जेम ट्रिनिटी कितने ही नए इनोवेशन का आधार बनी है। यूनिफाइड पेमेंट्स इंटरफेस यूपीआई ने कितनी ही नई कंपनियों को नए मौके दिए।
Together, Jan Dhan, Aadhaar and Mobile have struck a major blow against corruption. From social security pensions to ration distribution, the JAM Trinity has proven highly effective in implementing all government schemes. Whether it's housing schemes, old age pensions, Prime Minister Kisan Samman Nidhi, scholarships or subsidies, money now reaches the beneficiaries directly into their bank accounts with a single click. Due to JAM, a massive amount of 3.48 lakh crores have been saved from falling into the hands of corrupt intermediaries.
आज के दौर में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री द्वारा और भारत सरकार द्वारा जो डीबीटी की योजना चालू की गई है, तो अगर वो पैसे वहां से भेजते हैं तो पूरा डायरेक्ट उस खातेदार के खाते में आता है और लाभार्थी को पूरा पैसा मिलता है।
जो भी गवर्नमेंट की हमें मनी आती है, जो जैसे कि कोई स्कीम जनधन योजना है, कोई भी पैसा आ रहा है तो हमें डायरेक्ट हमारे अकाउंट्स में आ रहा है, कोई थर्ड पार्टी को इन्वॉल्व नहीं किया जा रहा।
JAM, DBT and Digital India have collectively ensured the rights of the poor and the underprivileged. They have opened new doors of prosperity and significantly reduced corruption. A corruption-free, transparent governance. This is the vision of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and the nation is now working together to turn this vision into reality. Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, July 2025 marks 8 years of goods and services tax, India's biggest tax reform that has streamlined compliance, improved transparency and created a unified market. The One Nation, One Tax model continues to evolve and deliver. Tripti Tripathi has more.
Goods and Services Tax, India's most significant tax reform since independence, has marked 8 successful years since its implementation. Introduced by the Modi government on July 1, 2017, GST aimed to streamline the tax structure and ease the process of doing business by consolidating over 17 central and state taxes into a unified system. This transformative reform brought to life the vision of one nation, one tax, one market, fostering great economic integration across the country.
ये जीएसटी काउंसिल केंद्र और राज्य ने मिलकर के उन व्यवस्थाओं को विकसित किया है जिसमें गरीबों के लिए जो पहले उपलब्ध सेवाएं थी उन सारी सेवाओं को बरकरार रखा है। दल कोई भी हो, सरकार कहीं की भी हो, गरीबों के प्रति संवेदनशीलता इस जीएसटी के साथ जुड़े हुए सब लोगों ने समान रूप से उसकी चिंता की है।
As a key pillar of Digital India, GST has played a vital role in bringing small and medium enterprises into the mainstream economy. The service sector and MSMEs have especially benefited with improved ease of doing business. Prime Minister hailed One Nation, One Tax as milestone in India's growth, stating it as a landmark reform that reshaped economic landscape. Prime Minister Modi said that GST has greatly improved the ease of doing business, particularly for small and medium enterprises. He added that GST is fostering true cooperative federalism by making states equal partners in this journey to integrate India's market. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman termed GST as a powerful engine for economic growth while fostering true cooperative federalism by making states equal partners in this journey to integrate India's market. After the implementation of GST, the number of taxpayers in the country has more than doubled. Before 2017, only 65 lakh people were connected to the VAT system in the country, whereas after the implementation of GST, 80 lakh new taxpayers have been added to its ambit. The average monthly GST collection has increased from 90,000 crore rupees in 2017 to more than 2 lakh crore in May 2025. The average GST rate has also decreased from 15.3% before 2017 to 12.2% in 2023. The trade between states has now increased from 23.5% of GDP to 35%. Currently, petroleum, alcohol, and tobacco remain outside the scope of GST. Most of the initial technical flaws have been largely addressed, and the industry is optimistic that a new appellate system for resolving GST-related disputes will be introduced soon, further easing the way for business. Tripti Tripathi's report for DD India.
In a latest update, India's Finance Ministry reported that the goods and services tax collection for June 2025 rose to 1.85 lakh crore rupees. It marks a 6.2% increase compared to 1.73 lakh crore rupees collected in June last year. The net GST collection in June, after factoring in the refunds issued, are up 3.3% on a year-on-year basis at 1.59 lakh crore rupees. For the financial year 2026, the government has projected an 11% rise in GST collections, estimating an annual revenue of 11.78 lakh crore rupees, including central GST and compensation cess. The GST implemented on 1st July 2017 continues to streamline indirect taxation, supporting fiscal stability and funding essential services such as healthcare and infrastructure, while promoting cooperative federalism across states. Right, let's pull up some more news for you, this time from the US. Some international updates now. US senators raced towards a final vote on Tuesday on President Donald Trump's mammoth domestic policy bill, as Republicans voiced lingering misgivings over deep welfare cuts it proposes and the $3 trillion it will pile onto the national debt. Republican leaders had struggled to corral support during a record 24-hour vote-a-rama amendment session on the Senate floor, as Democrats offered dozens of challenges to the most unpopular aspects of the divisive package. But Republican Senate Majority Leader John Thune voiced tentative confidence mid-morning that he had achieved a breakthrough. If approved in the Senate, the bill will return to the House of Representatives for a final vote before being sent to Trump to be signed into law. The bill would also cut Medicaid and some food assistance programs for low-income Americans to partly offset the cost of the tax cuts. President Trump remained hopeful for the bill. He said the bill is good for the U.S.
I think we're going to get there. It's tough. We're trying to break it down so it's really good for the country. Trying to get a lot for everybody. And it's a big bill. And smaller bills would have been easy, but they wouldn't have been as good. I think it's going to do okay.
When do you think we'll get final passage of the bill?
Hopefully soon. Hopefully today, if we can. Final passage. When I say final is, let's take Senate at a time, okay? But I think Senate could be today and we go over to the House.
Meanwhile, the Senate has approved an amendment preventing millionaires from receiving unemployment benefits introduced by Republican Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa. The measure passed by voice vote and targets individuals with incomes over $1 million. The vote came during an overnight session as Republicans pushed to pass President Trump's controversial tax and spending bill, which faces internal party divisions over its projected $3.3 trillion impact on national debt. The bill also proposes cuts to Medicaid and food assistance programs.
My amendment ends freebies for freeloading fat cats by disqualifying anyone making $1 million or more from being eligible for unemployment income support. The Senate previously approved a similar proposal by a vote of 100-0 that unfortunately never became a law. We can't afford to miss this opportunity to save as much as $100 million by passing my amendment.
Also, the Republican-led U.S. Senate voted overwhelmingly on Tuesday to remove a 10-year government moratorium on state regulation of artificial intelligence from President Trump's sweeping tax cut and spending bill. Lawmakers voted 99-1 to strike the ban from the bill by adopting an amendment offered by Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn. The action came during a marathon session known as a vote-a-rama, in which lawmakers offered numerous amendments to the legislation that Republicans eventually hope to pass. Republican Senator Thom Tillis was the lone lawmaker who voted to retain the ban. The Senate version of Trump's legislation would have only restricted states regulating AI from tapping a new $500 million fund to support AI infrastructure. And President Trump on Tuesday threatened to cut off the billions of dollars in subsidies that Elon Musk's companies receive from the U.S. government in an escalation of the war of words between the U.S. president and the world's richest man, one-time allies who have since fallen out. The feud reignited on Monday when Musk, who spent hundreds of millions on Trump's re-election, renewed his criticism of Trump's tax cut and spending bill, which would eliminate subsidies for electric vehicle purchases that have benefited Tesla, the leading U.S. EV maker. Musk's businesses, especially Tesla and SpaceX, are highly dependent on an array of U.S. government contracts, policies, subsidies, and credits that have provided the companies tens of billions of dollars in revenue over the years. Some of these benefits for Tesla, including consumer tax credits for EV purchases, were already on the chopping block in Trump's tax bill. Tesla shares dropped 4% in early trading on Tuesday.
I don't know. I think we'll have to take a look. We might have to put Doge on Elon. You know Doge is? Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible? He gets a lot of subsidies, Peter. But Elon's very upset that the EV mandate is going to be terminated. And you know what? When you look at it, not everybody wants an electric car. I don't want an electric car. I want to have maybe gasoline, maybe electric, maybe a hybrid, maybe someday a hydrogen. If you have a hydrogen car, It has one problem, it blows up.
And staying in the U.S., President Donald Trump said that he will discuss the situations in Gaza and Iran when he meets Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House on Monday. Trump spoke to reporters on Tuesday as he left the White House for a visit to a migrant detention center in the state of Florida. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Netanyahu said on Tuesday that he expects to travel to the U.S. next week for meetings with President Trump after a 12-day war with Iran last month. Netanyahu told his cabinet meeting in Jerusalem that the visit will also include talks with other U.S. officials such as Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Trump's West Asia envoy Steve Witkoff, and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick.
This administration is in constant communication with Israeli leadership, and the president himself speaks frequently, as you know, to Prime Minister Netanyahu. But this has been a priority for the president since he took office, to end this brutal war in Gaza. It is because of this president that humanitarian aid is being brought into the region. It's heartbreaking to see the images that have come out from both Israel and Gaza throughout this war, and the president wants to see it end. He wants to save lives. And however, the main priority for the president also remains to bring all of the hostages home out of Gaza.
Across the Atlantic in Europe, Spain on Tuesday announced that a number of wealthy creditor nations and multilateral lenders have launched an initiative that aims to give sovereign borrowers breathing space on debt payments in the event of a climate or humanitarian crisis. The Debt Suspension Clause Alliance was launched during a UN conference in Seville, a one-in-a-decade meeting aimed at furthering development finance goals and guidelines. The initiative pushes for the systematic inclusion of clauses in new public and commercial lending that allow for a temporary suspension of debt payments in the face of extraordinary events such as natural disasters, food crises, or health emergencies. A number of multilateral lenders have already added such clauses in their lending, including inserting them retroactively in some existing loans. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, who is visiting Spain, met European Investment Bank Group President Nadia Calvino on the sidelines of the International Conference on Financing for Development on Tuesday. Recognizing India's leadership in digitalization and its impact on inclusive growth, Minister Sitharaman and Calvino explored possibilities for partnering in third countries. Calvino expressed keen interest in further strengthening the EIB-India partnership. Earlier, addressing the third plenary meeting at the International Conference on Financing for Development, Minister Sitharaman underlined India's people-centric development approach.
India has consistently placed people at the center of its development strategy. Through targeted policy interventions, we have lifted 250 million people out of multidimensional poverty and empowered communities through inclusive digital public infrastructure. In the spirit of India's civilizational ethos, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that is, world is one family, we must unite in our efforts to drive meaningful change that benefits all.
And in news from the Indo-Pacific, Thailand's Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra has been suspended by the Constitutional Court over an ethics case tied to a leaked call with Cambodia's former leader Hun Sen. The scandal has rattled a fragile coalition and deepened a political unrest, with protesters now calling for a fresh election. Her suspension adds fuel to Thailand's ongoing power struggle between the pro-military elite and the Shinawatra political dynasty.
Thailand's Constitutional Court has suspended Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra pending a case that could lead to her dismissal. The move follows a petition by 36 senators accusing her of dishonesty and ethical misconduct over a leaked June 15th phone call with Cambodia's former leader Hun Sen, during which she criticized a Thai army commander. For years, Thai politics have been shaped by a power struggle between the conservative pro-military elite and the populist Shinawatra family, seen by some as a threat to the kingdom's traditional order.
I have seen a lot of the news. It sometimes gets me bored. It's like things keep repeating in loops. This is again the same thing that happened before. I don't know when things will get better.
The scandal has fractured Paithuntawn's coalition, now clinging to a slim majority after a key party walked out. Protesters are demanding new elections, deepening the crisis. Despite the backlash, Paithuntawan, Thailand's youngest prime minister and the fourth Shinawatra to hold the office, apologized and said her intent was to ease border tensions. She will remain in cabinet as the culture minister, while Deputy Prime Minister Surya Jungrunrongkit steps in as caretaker.
I want to apologize to people who are upset by all of this. I want to confirm again that my intention was truly for the nation. I apologize for my methods if they were not to many people's liking.
Paithuntawan is the youngest daughter of former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra and heir to one of Thailand's most powerful political dynasties. She entered politics in 2022 and rose rapidly through Pheo Thai ranks. A former hotel executive, she led a high-profile campaign in 2023, even while pregnant, and gave birth just 2 weeks before election day. Though her party finished second, she eventually took office after a coalition deal and court-ordered leadership change. Meanwhile, her father and ex-Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra is facing renewed legal trouble, including charges of insulting the monarchy and scrutiny over his hospital stay while serving a previous prison sentence. The current political turmoil comes as Thailand grapples with sinking approval ratings, economic headwinds, and stock market volatility, driven by expectations of further interest rate cuts amid this rising economic gloom. Bureau Report, DD India.
India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar is visiting the US for a Quad Foreign Ministers meeting in Washington, D.C. Ahead of their meeting, Quad Foreign Ministers deliver their remarks to the press. Minister Jaishankar said that the world must display zero tolerance against terrorism and that victims and perpetrators must never be equated. He also asserted that India has every right to defend its people against terrorism. Earlier, Minister Jaishankar also met with his Japanese counterpart in Washington, D.C. The minister also inaugurated an exhibition at the United Nations on the human cost of terrorism in New York City. Fozail Ahmed reports.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is visiting United States to participate in the Quad Foreign Ministers meeting along with US Secretary of State and Foreign Ministers of Japan, Australia in Washington, D.C. on July 1st.
A word about terrorism in the light of our recent experience. The world must display zero tolerance. Victims and perpetrators must never be equated. And India has every right to defend its people against terrorism, and we will exercise that right. We expect our Quad partners to understand and appreciate that.
These are very important strategic partners and allies of the United States, and together we have a lot of shared priorities, a lot of things we care about in the world. I think there are many global problems, but also problems that we face in our respective countries that can be solved by us cooperating together. One of the challenges upon coming, although this is a great partnership and a great forum in which to discuss these issues, one of the challenges has been something new like this, is turning meetings and gatherings where we talk about ideas and concepts into a vehicle for action, into a vehicle for actually being able to take concrete actions. And that's the next step in this great partnership.
It is such an important partnership for the world, is such an important partnership for our region, it's such an important partnership for the countries represented. The importance of our partnership is highlighted by the urgency of the strategic challenges that we all face. In his testimony to his confirmation hearings, the Secretary spoke about the future of the 21st century being made in this region.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Jaishankar met Japanese Foreign Minister Takeshi Iwaya. The leaders had comprehensive discussions on infrastructure, investment, and mobility. They also exchanged views on deepening Quad engagement for a free and open Indo-Pacific. Earlier, White House on Monday praised India as an important partner in the Indo-Pacific.
India remains a very strategic ally in the Asia-Pacific, and the President has a very good relationship with Prime Minister Modi, as you know, and he will continue to have that.
Before arriving in Washington, D.C., Dr. S. Jaishankar was in New York, where he inaugurated an exhibition at the United Nations on the human cost of terrorism.
The world must come together on some basic concepts. No impunity to terrorists, no treating them as proxies, and no yielding to nuclear blackmail. Any state sponsorship must be exposed and must be countered. By now, we know well that terrorism anywhere is a threat to peace everywhere.
The exhibition highlighted the devastating toll of heinous terrorist acts around the world and the steps taken by the international community to combat terrorism. Fuzail Ahmad's report for DD India.
All right, time to bring in my colleague and a guest to walk you through the main points of the Quad meeting taking place in Washington, D.C. Joining me from D.C. is my colleague Saurabh Shukla. Also joining us is Ambassador Manju Seth. She's a former ambassador to Madagascar and Consul General in Comoros. Saurabh, coming to you first, how's the meeting coming along? What's on the agenda?
Well, Ramesh, a very clear messaging coming from India that the center's point for Quad also should to focus on terrorism, and India has made it very clear, and you saw a very, very bold statement coming out of the External Affairs Minister that victims and perpetrators cannot be equated and there should be zero tolerance of terrorism. This is what is the central theme, if you ask me, that India is conveying to its Quad partners, that terrorism against any member state impacts economic activity. It also impedes the efforts of Quad members to focus on other areas like Indo-Pacific. So India's messaging is very clear that India is committed to Quad. It wants to promote cooperation in the Indo-Pacific on issues like critical minerals, but issues like terrorism cannot be sidestepped. It has to be a focus of every organization, including Quads, because they are trying to create an economic linkage, and also the fact that every country is impacted by terrorism, and countries who are perpetrating the terrorism and their backers should be called out. And there is a clear veiled message here to China as well, Ramesh, because a lot of Quad members also, I've been speaking to a lot of them behind the scenes, they feel that whether it's Pakistan's continued support to terrorism, or whether it's Iran-Israel conflict, China's hidden hand is always there, and Quad members are well aware of it. India is making sure that the Quad members continue to speak in one voice when it comes to terrorism, and that continues to be the central focus of the visit of External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar here as we speak here in Washington, D.C. He's currently having talks with the Quad member countries and the foreign ministers here. Ramesh?
Ambassador Seth, are you satisfied with the way the Quad has shaped up over the years and how it is shaping up as we speak in Trump's second term in office? Ambassador Seth?
I think what we see now, the Quad had picked up a lot of momentum, and President Trump was responsible, as you are aware, to energize and to sort of give impetus to the Quad in his first term. Also, we found in the second term, the first sort of engagement, it was on the sidelines of his inauguration, that the Quad foreign ministers meeting was held. But I think it appears that it has lost some momentum. But maybe because of the geopolitical changes and the tensions and the conflicts that are taking place around us, and including the economic and tariff wars that President Trump started. And that, I think, has impacted a bit the momentum for Quad to go forward. But with this meeting, it is expected that they will be able to resolve some of the issues that have come up between bilaterally maybe, but not within the Quad, but bilaterally that have come up. That they will be able to resolve these and look at, making the Quad again focus on its key sort of agenda items, mainly including maritime security, and security in the and free and open South China Sea and the Indo-Pacific, and all these other related issues that will be discussed. But as very rightly mentioned by our Minister, External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar, the terrorism has become a big scourge, and we saw that the victim and the perpetrators were being treated at one level. And I thought there was some sort of India was not very happy with the way most of the Quad members responded, and I believe that maybe because the issues were not very clear. In the sense, when I say issues were not clear, I mean when we didn't really move as quickly as I think Pakistan moved to give a narrative of the turn of events,
Right.
and that may have been a factor in the not such enthusiastic or such strong condemnation.
Fair enough. Saurabh, talking about the Trump-Modi dynamic, the press secretary to President Trump has said that the US leader has a very good relationship with Prime Minister Modi and that he will continue to have that. What more can you tell us about the Trump-Modi relationship over the years?
You know, I would say, Ramesh, and I was there when Prime Minister Modi visited White House. In fact, I asked President Trump picked me for two questions. The first question and the big question, where he said Prime Minister Modi is a tougher negotiator. That I asked him that. And since then, if you see the whole trajectory, he has been saying repeatedly that Prime Minister Modi is a special friend. India is a special partner for the US. And that has been the position. The White House press secretary clearly articulating it just ahead of the Quad meeting reinforces the fact that US and India have a relationship which has been seen an unprecedented level of trust which is developing. Yes, as friends, we will continue to disagree on issues, but the relationship is strong. Prime Minister Modi is respected by President Trump, and you will see in the months to come a lot more momentum getting built in this relationship. As you are aware that there are trade talks which are underway. If you ask me, External Affairs Minister's visit here is also a precursor to the Quad Summit that will happen in India. So I think a lot more is happening on bilateral partnership. And whatever the naysayers may say, I think the foundation of US-India partnership is very strong, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Donald Trump are both committed, and we have given a new strategic direction to this partnership between our two great democracies. Ramesh.
Saurabh, stay on. I'll come back to you on the summit in just a moment. Ambassador Said, coming to you now. Minister Jaishankar has said that in the past that Quad stands for something, not against someone. It swears by a free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific. But China's belligerence, coercion and expansionism have raised concerns within the Quad. So do you think the Quad can bring about a change in Beijing's behavior or attitude?
To some extent, yes, because I think Beijing does understand that these four countries have a certain presence, a certain strength in the Indo-Pacific, and can counter or can not allow Beijing to do as it wishes, and they can enforce a rules-based kind of system and an order in that area, in the Pacific especially. So they understand it. Beijing understands that. But with the recent, events, I should say, as they've unfolded, Beijing might think that the Quad is weakened. But I think this foreign ministers' meeting will not will put at rest any such doubts, and they will discuss the agenda for the summit, upcoming summit. And of course, there may be some differences, but I think resolution will be found.
Right. Saurabh, talking about the summit, what more can you tell us? What do we know about the Quad Summit to be hosted by India later this year?
Well, gathering from my sources here in White House and Washington, D.C., President Trump is quite excited to be in India. And also this meeting in some ways is a precursor. India will be very clear that beyond the ambit of Quad, what they've been discussing, the issue of terrorism must be taken up strongly by this grouping as well, as I said earlier, because there is a direct linkage on economic activity, on strategic activity. If terrorism is foisted against one member state, their whole commitment to Quad in some ways get distracted. That's what India's message is very clear, that India is committed to Quad. It wants to make sure it wants to work for a free Indo-Pacific. It wants to collaborate on defense, critical minerals, everything that the Quad is doing. and wants to make sure that it supports Quads in every way. And India wants to take a leadership position when the summit, gets underway in India later this year. But issues like terrorism cannot be sidestepped because they impact Quad directly as well. And that's the reason why India expects all Quad partner countries to speak in one voice when it comes to terrorism. And in some ways, it should be, taken a cue from many other groupings where there is a much more stronger resolve to speak on terrorism. As Minister Jaishankar said, there should be zero tolerance, and every grouping across the globe, including Quad, and you will see the summit in India will come up with some kind of a declaration which it happens, where there will be a mention of terrorism and how it impacts member states as well, and how they will be speaking in a more robust voice from here on. Ramesh?
Indeed. Ambassador Said, you get the last word. Is the Quad here to stay in its current shape and form? Is it in it for the long haul? And do you feel it needs to reinvent itself? In other words, become future ready?
I think to some extent it's going to remain in the current form, because I think while there's a lot of talk of defense cooperation and security cooperation remains on the table. But defense cooperation is where people are wanting it to go. But I think that will be much in the future, not in the short term.
Okay.
And I feel that the Quad is here to stay, because it is in the mutual interest of the 4 member countries to work together in this crucial area. Indo-Pacific is important from every point of view: security, navigation, freedom of navigation, and the resources, and also the strategic, implications of the Indo-Pacific for the countries. So it will continue to be there. It will get strengthened, I believe. But it might change a bit more towards maybe defense and more security oriented in the future if required, as per it will adapt accordingly, I believe.
All right, we leave it there. Ambassador Manju Seth in New Delhi and Saurabh Shukla in Washington, D.C. Thank you both for joining us and sharing your perspectives with our viewers in India and abroad. Thank you all for your time. Appreciate it. Right, moving on, the Cabinet, chaired by Prime Minister Modi, has approved the employment-linked incentive scheme to support employment generation, enhance employability and social security across all sectors, with a special focus on the manufacturing sector. Briefing media persons in New Delhi on Tuesday, Minister Ashwini Vaishnav announced that the ELI scheme aims to incentivize the creation of more than 3.5 crore jobs in the country over a period of 2 years.
ELI will be focused on the manufacturing sector. इसके 2 parts. First timers के लिए 1 महीने तक की सब्सिडी, 1 महीने की सैलरी के बराबर सब्सिडी, up to a limit of maximum 15,000 rupees, ये दी जाएगी, जो कि 2 इंस्टॉलमेंट्स में होगी, 6 महीने और 12 महीने के बाद में दी जाएगी. इससे एम्प्लॉयर्स को, कंपनीज को, they will be encouraged to hire the first timers. दूसरा इसका पार्ट है जो सस्टेन्ड एम्प्लॉयमेंट देते हैं, 2 साल के लिए एवरी मंथ 3,000 रुपीज पर मंथ पर एम्प्लॉय, ये एक सपोर्ट मिलेगा. और जो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इंडस्ट्रीज हैं उसमें यही सपोर्ट 4 साल के लिए मिलेगा.
The Cabinet also approved the National Sports Policy 2025, a landmark initiative aimed at reshaping the country's sporting landscape and empowering citizens through sport.
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने इन 11 वर्षों में स्पोर्ट्स पे एक अलग तरीके से ध्यान देके और विशेषकर ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों में जो टैलेंट है उसको आगे लाने का एक सिस्टमेटिक तरीके से आगे लाने का प्रयास किया. उसी कड़ी में ये आज स्पोर्ट्स की पॉलिसी खेलो भारत नीति बनी है. खेलो भारत नीति के मेजर ऑब्जेक्टिव रहेगा कैसे भारत 2047 तक टॉप 5 स्पोर्टिंग नेशंस में गिनती हो भारत की.
India is set to become the 3rd largest economy, declared Petroleum and Natural Gas Minister Hardeep Singh Puri at the 77th Chartered Accountant Day in New Delhi on Tuesday. Minister Puri also launched the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India app AI Agent. Goldman Sachs' latest report projects India's economy to grow at a steady 6.1 to 6.2% for the fiscal year 2025-26, with a potential rise to 6.7% in FY27. They believe the worst of the economic slowdown is likely over and anticipate an improvement in growth and earnings, potentially reaching 6.4% in the second half of 2025. Goldman Sachs also forecasts that India will be among the best performing emerging markets in 2025, driven by macroeconomic stability and structural reforms. Quoting from the report, the minister claimed that India would soon be the third largest economy, overtaking Germany.
The Indian economy, in terms of global standing, came from 11th position with a GDP of something like $2 trillion to now the fourth largest economy, waiting to be the third largest economy in a short period of time with a GDP of $4.3 trillion.
And speaking about the oil sector, the minister said that there is no need to worry as India is going through an energy transition focusing on biofuel blending and green hydrogen.
There is more than enough oil available in the world, and today I think it's in everybody's interest to make that energy available. And I have also been telling you that insofar as natural gas is concerned, my view is in the next 1 or 2 years, you will find more natural gas coming on the market, because you have to look at the production statistics in all these countries. So you'll find that they are all coming on board.
Now, recently, India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman travelled to the Union Territory of Ladakh as part of the Indian government's Vibrant Village initiative. In a newspaper article titled "Finding Meaning in Ever-Changing Skies," the minister shared her experience of her visit to Ladakh. The minister wrote that the Tulku, or the administrative head of the Hemis monastery, who hailed from a far-off village near Chushul town, shared with her that because of better connectivity, the travel time to his village has reduced from 6 hours a few years ago to 2 hours now. It's evident everywhere how Ladakh is benefiting from the abundant resources being made available to it. Recalling a visit to the region, Minister Sitharaman wrote, and I quote, "We visited a makeshift Anganwadi center that also moves with the change of seasons. The Anganwadi is being supported under the Dharti Aba Janjati Gram Utkarsh Abhiyan that aims to improve access of nomadic tribes to health and education. This has been the hallmark of governance under Prime Minister Modi, where policies are made keeping the aspirations and needs of every Indian," unquote. The minister further wrote that the village of Hanley is the first dark sky reserve in India, a distinction that makes it special not just for cosmic tourism, but also for scientists and astronomers. The major atmospheric Cherenkov experiment telescope at Hanley utilizes the Cherenkov effect to detect high-energy gamma rays from astrophysical sources. During a visit, the minister traveled to the picturesque Pangongso Lake, while the pristine glassy lake, stretching to nearly 140 kilometers, radiated calmness. The hills in the backdrop kept changing colors as if they were alive in the mind of an artist, trying out various hues in his palette. Minister Sitharaman said that Ladakh's terrain is rugged and cold, but it nurtures life in a unique way. The cultural landscape of Ladakh is fertilized by the spiritual cases of Buddhism. In other news, extreme weather events are sweeping across the globe, from devastating floods and landslides in Asia to scorching heat waves and wildfires in Europe. Scientists warn that these are no longer isolated incidents, but part of a troubling new normal driven by climate change. Take a look at how different parts of the world are battling nature's fury.
From relentless rains to record-breaking heat waves, the world is grappling with extreme weather disruptions like never before. In India, the monsoon has swept across the country, triggering widespread devastation. In Himachal Pradesh, incessant rainfall over the past 72 hours has caused severe flooding in the Beas River, with Mandi district worst affected. Meanwhile, heavy downpours in Uttarakhand have swollen rivers and water bodies, raising the threat of further flooding. Despite heavy rains and frequent road closures, the much-awaited Kailash Mansarovar Yatra has resumed from Lipu Lake in Pithoragarh after 5 years. The district administration says it is fully prepared to ensure pilgrims' safety. Meanwhile, in Uttarkashi, work is underway on a war footing to restore the Yamunotri National Highway, which has been damaged by landslides.
It has been raining incessantly for the past 15 to 20 days, and there have been sporadic cloudbursts. Also, our drains merge in the rivers, and there has been a rise in the water levels as well, consequently raising the water levels of the rivers. We are making announcements for all to stay safe, and people who live near the river are being shifted to safer places.
In China, torrential rains have led to flooded streets, landslides and mass evacuations. Over 70,000 people have been moved to safety in the Sichuan province, while floods in Henan province killed 3 people and over 220 milliliters of rain fell in just 3 hours. Meanwhile, Europe is on high alert as a surprise early heat wave is moving north. Temperatures soaring across southern Europe have now forced school closures in France and the Netherlands and broken records in Spain and Portugal. The World Meteorological Organization has warned that such heat waves will become more frequent and intense due to human-induced climate change.
It's really hot. It's definitely a little bit challenging, I would say, in terms of just because there's not necessarily a big breeze. It's like you can handle hot weather, but when it's not breezy, that makes it like kind of compounded, where you're like, whoa. And then, I don't know, you just have to hydrate.
In Turkey, helicopters are battling wildfires. More than 50,000 people have been evacuated from 5 regions across the country. As the world faces these escalating climate challenges, the call for urgent action has never been louder. Whether it's building resilient infrastructure or cutting emissions, experts say the time to act is now, before these extremes become even more severe and frequent. Bureau Report, DD India.
Before we close, an update coming in from Washington, D.C. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has finished what he calls a very productive meeting of the Quad foreign ministers in the U.S. Capitol. The leaders discussed how to make Quad more focused and impactful on contemporary opportunities and challenges. The minister said that today's gathering will strengthen strategic stability in the Indo-Pacific and keep it free and open. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can get the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code that is now on your screen to download it. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. From all of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.